drank down my last swallow. Then he bombed a cigarette and asked me for a light. And the night got deathly quiet, and his face lost all expression. Said, if you're gonna play the game, boy, you gotta learn to play.
On this Wednesday, SEC Media Days in Tampa, Florida rolls on. Full coverage of SEC Media Days coming each day on SportsTalk Mississippi with Michael Borkey and Brian Haydad. Ole Miss, one of the teams that will be there today. SuperTalk's coverage of SEC Media Days is brought to you by Pearl River Resort, Cannon Motors of Mississippi, Mississippi Farm Bureau, and Trustmark Bank. And this morning from Tampa, we are joined by Michael Borkey. First year that Media Days has been in Tampa. It's been in Hoover, Alabama a bunch of times, been in Nashville, been in Atlanta. What's the Dallas also, I guess, a couple of years ago. What's the vibe been like in a place that is a long way from most of the rest of the SEC?
Yeah, so the old two things can be true at once. It was, I think, in hindsight, a mistake to do it this far away from everybody. The vibe is a little bit lower key than you're used to, and there's fewer people here than you're used to because of travel, logistics, cost, all that. We haven't seen much of Tampa, but from what I've seen, I've never been here before.
Yeah?
It's a great place. And I noticed this yesterday in particular. It's really clean. Like, everything seems to be in place. Like, even the highways from the airport to the hotel, and I guess we're in the hospital and finance district or something like that. There's no trash anywhere. Like, everything is really well kept and really clean and really nice. I'm really surprised. I don't know what I expected, but this is a really nice place.
Very good. You had a chance yesterday to sit and visit with the commissioner of the SEC. If you missed that conversation, you can get it online at supertalk.fm. You can see clips of it on all of our social media platforms.
And I literally just put it on our YouTube channel, on the SuperTalk YouTube channel in full, so it's there.
There you go. You want to watch the entire thing, YouTube may be the easiest way to do. What did you learn visiting with the commissioner? Because there certainly are a lot of topics that he is right in the middle of.
So I only got about 11 minutes. I had 10 more questions / narratives that I wanted to get to that I could not get to with him. But I made sure to do local first. So I asked him about September 19th, Lane's return to Oxford. And I don't mean to put words in his mouth, but when I brought it up, it felt like he was a bit annoyed with some
of you?
the – not with me,
okay.
with the main character in the story. And after I asked him about it, he said, I had to remind our coaches that whether you were at a place 10 months ago, 10 years ago, I do not care. You talk about your own team. And I feel like that message was delivered, especially after the Vanity Fair deal and all that. So he said they are working with Ole Miss to make sure that 2021 Knoxville doesn't happen in Oxford this year. And it was interesting. I asked him about that in particular, and he said, well, you're asking me about it ahead of time. And he said, in 2021, we had no expectations of that. And he said, now we don't expect that to happen, but at least we can be prepared for the possibility of that happening and have those conversations ahead of time. Whereas in 21, he said we weren't prepared for it turning into what it turned into in Knoxville.
Borkey, all the talk is about LSU coming to Ole Miss, and for obvious reasons, but Josh Heupel at Tennessee threw a little bit of flame on the or he fanned the flames, I guess, a little bit on the Lane Kiffin fire. Like, look, he's coming back to Knoxville this year, and don't forget.
Yeah, he said that, his fans are loading up on mustard and golf balls, and he hopes that they don't lose that energy. So I'm sure the commissioner loved that.
Yeah. What has been the conversation this week around this Ole Miss team? Because Ole Miss is kind of in a different place than historically they have been, coming off a loss in the college football playoff semifinal. Double-digit wins in 3 of the last 4 seasons. A lot of expectation for everybody not named Roman Harper going into this year for the Rebels.
We'll visit with him tomorrow. I'm going to ask him about that because I don't know how you can watch what Indiana has done and still be dismissive of a program because of history. So I'll ask him about that because I was surprised after what we've seen that somebody can sit on the SEC network and say something like that.
It's very dismissive. This was in the Sunday night special they had kind of leading into the start of the SEC Media Days, SEC kickoff as the conference calls it. But in terms of whether it's other media members or what other coaches are saying, what's the vibe surrounding this particular Ole Miss team that is going to have a new head coach in Pete Golding?
To be honest with you, so far it's been unfortunate, I think. And I hope today shifts the conversation, because for the first 2 days, it's all been about Lane. Lane. And I get it. He left in spectacular fashion, depending on what you use as the denotation of spectacular. And that's all anybody's been talking about. And it's unfortunate that that is the case, because absent him, this is a really compelling football team with really compelling players, really high-level players. You've got, possible first-round draft picks all over this roster. You've got a high-level quarterback, a really fun and interesting and great running back. You've got a defense that has a handful of players that can be like freak, nasty-type players, and nobody's talking about them. I was having a private conversation with somebody yesterday, that organizing things for today, and they mentioned, Will Eccles not really going to get a whole lot of media attention. And I thought, that's insane. A soon-to-be first-round, possibly top 15 pick defensive lineman in the SEC is not going to get any attention? That doesn't make any sense. And so that goes to show you how the attention has been still, to this day, we're almost to training camp, zapped away from the actual football players and paid to somebody that's not even with the program anymore.
Will Eccles emerged as a dominant defensive lineman a year ago. I know you had a conversation with, forgive me for forgetting his name, earlier this week about defensive line play nationally, and he said he thought Will Eccles was a top 3 interior defensive lineman nationally.
Yeah, that was Brooks Austin, the film guy. And okay. he had to issue a mea culpa about, because we had him on before the Sugar Bowl, and he was like, Georgia, they've just got better dudes. And that'll be what it comes down to. So it was a good conversation. But, yeah, he said his combination of power and size, but closing speed, is something that the NFL is really going to like, because, they have big defensive linemen. You know this. But what separates an NFL defensive tackle from a good college defensive tackle is the ability to hunt down running backs and the occasional quarterback, parallel to the line of scrimmage. And apparently he does that with consistency. So he's not just a big space eater, but he is a guy that can go get a running back when he bounces it outside. He's got that burst, and it's just a pretty unique trait in football in general, and that's why guys, Mississippi State fans, you have defensive linemen in the NFL with $100+ million contracts, because those guys don't grow on trees.
They certainly make a difference. If you rewind a year, unless you were really paying attention, you might not have even known the name Trinidad Chambliss, a guy that was just kind of picked up in recruiting. We know the story about Ferris State and winning a national championship there. He was all but headed to Temple before Ole Miss came in. And then Austin Simmons was at SEC Media Days representing Ole Miss. He was the starting quarterback. And then early in the season, Trinidad Chambliss gets thrown in because of injury, and then just puts a stranglehold on that job. It's one of the more remarkable recent stories in college football to come from nobody knows who you are to likely preseason first team all SEC at quarterback a year later.
It's amazing. And you know what's funny, though? In hindsight, I especially, hand up, when they had those scrimmages going in training camp, they had, 3 straight Saturday scrimmages going into the season. And there was a lot of, Simmons
this guy
did this,
can spin it.
Simmons did that, but, man, this Trinidad kid, he's awesome. And I was just dismissive of it because, who knows, right? He's probably playing against backups. Simmons is the guy. Maybe we all should have paid better attention to the preseason scrimmages, because apparently he tore it up. But you're right, and, he seems really mature. He's one of the older guys. Joking aside, he is one of the older guys in the league. And I'm excited to see how he handles a day like this, because, like you said, even though he won a national championship at Ferris State, that's not the same as this. And he's going to have to spend 5 or 6 hours today getting nonstop asked about Heisman, nonstop asked about pressure, Playoffs. Lane Kiffin. Why didn't you go with Lane Kiffin? Did you want to go with all? He's going to have to deal with that all day long. And nothing that happens here impacts results on the field. But I do think at that position, you can get a really good gauge on the type of leader and kind of program figurehead, if you will, he can be in a setting like this. So I'm excited to see how he handles it.
And then Keelan Lacey, the third Ole Miss player that'll be there today, just the best running back in the SEC, and another guy who is in the conversation potentially for a Heisman Trophy. And
a video game cover athlete. I'm going to ask him how often he plays as himself in a video game, because if it were me, it'd be every day. So
3 to 6 this afternoon, Sports Talk Mississippi from SEC Media Days in Tampa, Florida. Borkey and Haydad have got you covered. They'll be putting content out all throughout the day. Great job this week, and appreciate the time this morning.
Of course, man. I told somebody earlier that they asked where you were, and I was like, Richard's doing politics now, and I just got to ride his coattails here. So, thank you.
It is. I have missed being there this week. I think it was 15 years in a row, not counting the COVID year. But you guys have done a great job. Really appreciate you.
See you, Richard.
Mornings with Richard Cross. We got more coming back with you right after this.